You know that feeling when your body wakes up before your mind does. When you open your eyes but inside everything still feels heavy and slow, as if your whole being is one step behind the world. Maybe you've been noticing small changes in yourself lately. Tasks that used to feel simple now seem strangely overwhelming. Conversations require more effort. Your thoughts take longer to form. And even when you sleep, you still wake up tired. This isn't just burnout, and it's not ordinary tiredness. This is emotional exhaustion, a quiet psychological depletion that builds slowly, subtly, and invisibly, until one day you realize you no longer feel like yourself. And the hardest part? Emotional exhaustion doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with warning signs that feel urgent. It begins in the tiny cracks of your everyday life, the cracks you've learned to ignore. It begins when you push through stress without giving yourself time to recover. It begins when you silence your emotions because you feel you're being too dramatic. It begins when you convince yourself you don't have time to rest, that you just have to be strong. It begins when your worth becomes tied to productivity, and rest feels like a luxury you haven't earned. Over time, your mind learns to adapt. It enters survival mode. It begins conserving energy the only way it knows how, by shutting down parts of your emotional world. Your motivation fades. Your joy becomes muted. Your thoughts become foggy. Your reactions slow down. You stop feeling connected, not only to others but to yourself. You begin to move through life as if you're watching from a distance, present but not fully alive, functional but drained, awake but not truly awake. And the scariest part is that this process is so quiet, so subtle, that you learn to live inside it without realizing something is deeply wrong. But here's the truth. Emotional exhaustion is not a sign of weakness. It's not a failure. It's not an inability to cope. It is your mind's way of saying, I have carried too much for too long, and I cannot keep going like this. Your mind has been trying to protect you by slowing you down, reducing stimulation, and narrowing your emotional bandwidth. Not because you're incapable, but because you've been operating far beyond your emotional limits. Let's break down what emotional exhaustion does to you beneath the surface. It blurs your identity. You stop knowing what you want, what you enjoy, what you feel drawn to. Your days start blending together. It drains your clarity. Even simple decisions, what to eat, where to start, what task to do first, feel heavier. It dulls your emotions. Not sadness, not anger, just a numbness. A flatness that makes everything feel distant and unreal. It disconnects you from your internal compass. Your needs become unclear. Your feelings become confusing. Your desires feel unfamiliar. And because you've been functioning like this for so long, you begin to believe this version of you is permanent. But it's not. There is a version of you underneath all this. A version with clarity, with energy, with purpose. But they've been buried under months, maybe years of emotional overload. And healing begins the moment you finally acknowledge what your mind has been trying to tell you. Not push harder, not be stronger, but slow down. Come back to yourself. Something inside you needs attention. And that's what we're going to explore. How emotional exhaustion begins, and how to gently guide yourself out of it. Healing emotional exhaustion doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with awareness, an honest recognition of how much you've been carrying, often alone. You might not realize how long you've been living in survival mode. When you go through prolonged stress, disappointment, pressure, or emotional neglect, your mind builds protective barriers. They keep you functioning, but they also disconnect you from your own emotional truth. To heal, you must first understand this. You were never meant to go through life constantly enduring, constantly pushing, constantly suppressing your own needs to meet the expectations of others. Your exhaustion is not laziness. It is a normal response to an abnormal level of emotional strain. The next step in healing is permission, and this is where many people struggle. Permission to rest. Permission to say, I'm not okay. Permission to take time without feeling guilty. Permission to stop absorbing the weight of responsibilities that were never meant to be yours alone. When you've been strong for too long, rest feels uncomfortable. Your mind expects you to keep going because that's all it has ever known. But rest is not weakness. Rest is repair. And emotional exhaustion requires deep repair. Then comes reconnection. This is where healing truly begins to take shape. When you slowly reconnect with the parts of yourself that have been neglected. Reconnect with your emotions. Ask yourself what you feel without judging the answer. Reconnect with your body. Notice when it tightens, when it softens, when it asks for a break. Reconnect with silence. Not the kind that feels empty, but the kind that feels like breathing room. Reconnect with small pleasures. Warm light, a slow morning, a moment of stillness. Anything that brings a tiny spark of you back to the surface. Healing isn't dramatic. It doesn't come with a breakthrough moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Healing happens quietly, gradually, consistently. One day you notice your thoughts feel clearer. Another day you feel just a little lighter. Then a moment arrives where you realize, I'm starting to feel like myself again. That moment is important because it means your mind is no longer in survival mode. It has begun to trust the world again. It has begun to trust you again. And here's something you need to hear. You are not behind in life. You are recovering. You are rebuilding. You are reconnecting with the version of yourself that exhaustion buried, but never destroyed. You deserve clarity. You deserve rest. You deserve to feel like yourself again. And if this helped you understand your emotional exhaustion more deeply, stay with us. There is so much more to uncover. And you don't have to walk this journey alone.